Hello, welcome back to Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching. This is Erin. So today is starting a special series of some special podcasts, Heal and Be Healthy, The Journey, where I'm going to be interviewing different healers along with my co-host who is sort of kicking this off for us, Claire Miller. Hello, Claire.
Hello.
So Claire and I have been going through the GCRT, the Goyette Cell Response Therapy Program, which we're both graduates. She's also a foot zoner, a master herbalist, and she just got her certificate in Ayurveda. So I'm very excited to interview her. She stood out to me as one of the people to know in the group, besides the fact that she damn near put the whole course together herself. So it was really, cool to get to know her on a deeper, more intimate level. And then we just sort of clicked. And so I'm really excited to share her with you. So how are you doing today, Claire?
I am doing great. Thank you.
Hey, welcome. So I'd like to start this podcast with going into your journey. So if there's anything that I missed that's really important for our listeners to learn about you, maybe you can fill in because your certificate list is very long. But also maybe share with us, when did your journey start and what did you start with on your healing journey?
Well, my healing journey started when I was very young. My mother was a naturopath and herbalist. And unfortunately, I was not teachable at that point in time. Dad and I called her a health food nut. But she kept us very, very healthy along those times. And it was until after she passed away that I got involved in holistic healing. And that's kind of my background. I've been a school teacher, teaching elementary school for a lot of years. And my journey started when I turned 51. And you shouldn't be 51, chubby, and be playing tag. Let me just say that. You shouldn't do those things. And I was playing with my students, and this little boy came after me to tag me, and I'm not about to let that happen. I'm very competitive. And so I took off one way and my knee took off the other way, and I ended up tearing both meniscuses and my ACL.
Oh.
And by the time the district allowed me to have the surgery, I had done so much damage to my knee that when the doctor saw me after recovery, he said, Claire, I'm sorry, you're going to be on a cane or a crutch the rest of your life.
Wow.
There was nothing I could do to fix it. And I said, I'll just get a new knee. No, you have done way too much damage. I can't even fix the tendons that are around there. And so I was relegated to this stupid crutch, and very, very ticked off that I had to do something like that. It just really interfered with my lifestyle.
Sure.
And so I had my instructional coach came in and said, why don't you go see my wife? I said, why would I want to do that? Well, she's a foot zoner. Oh, foot zoner. Good gravy. What's that? That is, hippie mama kind of sounding. And I thought, oh my golly, but I was desperate and I went. And in 3 months, she had me walking. And
Wow.
without a cane or a crutch. And that started my journey into looking further and deeper into it. And I can't seem to get enough of it. It's just really been a powerful thing. I went on to be a foot zone therapist, instructing foot zoning. And then I got into kinesiology, became a kinesiologist, being able to muscle test and move people through that process. I went on to become a master herbalist, and it just more and more, the more I learn, the more I want to know, and just heavy into wanting to know more about Ayurveda. That's been
you and me both. Yeah.
Yeah, big passion, because I'd see so many great things happening from it. So that's been my journey, and
Yeah.
I love it, every minute of it.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about you, Claire, is that you are so passionate about health and healing. And because you have studied many different things, you can pull from many different tool sets. So that's one of my favorite things about you. And it's, it's infused with your enthusiasm, infused with enthused. How about that?
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting, because I did body work for about 15 years. I wouldn't call it massage, though I did go to massage school, but I call it body work, something I call tension pattern release. And I had so many people that would come to me who had been, the doctors would send them away, didn't know what to do with them, and I was kind of like their last hope. I think it was kind of like, they're like, well, fuck it. Let's see if this, let's just roll the dice. Why not? She seems nice enough, right? Charming. So, but then I think that they were like shocked when they actually got like real results, and like very quickly. And so do you find it the case that people who come to you, it's sort of like a last ditch effort or kind of desperate attempt?
Yes, often.
Mm.
I get this call. I don't know what else to do. I've done X, Y, and Z, and nothing's working for me. Can I come and see you? And it's I've had the same story. They're almost apologetic when they come. Well, I'm sorry, but I've done this and this and this and this. And I start looking, particularly, I look first at nutritional issues and what they're doing. And the dumbfounding one thing that always seems to raise its head is the awareness of what you eat makes a difference. And
Imagine
it's
that.
like, oh, really? And what you drink makes a difference. This is your building blocks of how your body functions. And it's just like, you're kidding, really? And I remember this one couple I worked with, and I worked with them almost 6 months before I could get them off of soda. And I said, you just need to pull off soda. This will help your diabetes. This will help this. This will help that. And um, once they were off, and they dropped a bunch of weight because of all the carbonation and things that had been on there, they went,
Mm.
oh, you're right. It made me laugh. It just, I'm not doing it for my personal pleasure of torturing people. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's Western doctors. They are not required to take any zero nutrition courses.
That's true.
And I remember just growing up, if I did go to like primary care doctor, just seeing like a chart, like the old school like food pyramid, and it's a lot of times they haven't taken the time to go through their own healing journey, and they haven't looked at things like diet, so that when people come to them, it's not touched upon, which is a damn shame, because in something like Ayurveda, it is like the root, like it's immediately, what are you eating? And I have found, and maybe you have found this too, is like when you start talking about eating, like you said, it's like, if you're like, well, why are we talking about this? Why are you talking about that? Like, why can't you give me a pill or a supplement or something like that? It's like, a supplement is exactly what it sounds like, a supplement. But if you're eating crap food, eating food that causes inflammation, that causes an allergic response inside of your body, it is preventing you from reducing that inflammation enough to go in and do that deep healing. So that's wonderful that you guide people into nutritional stuff. So are you incorporating already some of the Ayurvedic stuff that you've been?
Yes. My first week working with an Ayurveda coach, I started using it with my clients. I couldn't help myself. It was true. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't I teach my clients what is true? And it has been such a blessing as in my own life of well, for an example, let me back up. So COVID came into our lives, right?
Right.
And I got COVID, just like everybody else, and went through that process. But almost 4 months, maybe 5 months later, I got Omicron, and Omicron nearly took my life and left me with long haulers, a lot of garbage that went on, and oh, absolute vertigo, asthma, everything. And I searched and searched and searched and brought out all my herbs and tried different things to see what I could do to work with it. And it wasn't until I went to an Ayurvedic regime that everything started to calm down. And it's been wonderful. I got my life back.
So
And
what did you, sorry to interrupt, but what did you notice first? Because I think that people a lot of times skip over the subtleties. So when you started on that regimen, like what did you notice first that was shifting?
oh, that's a great question. I think the very first thing was I didn't use an inhaler anymore. I got
Mm,
so bad with long haulers, I was using an inhaler 2 to 3 times a day,
wow.
trying to get that airway cleared up and everything in line. And whoa, after that, um, different other things started happening. Energy started to come back. I felt
Mm,
like I could start doing things again. Um, it just very subtly, I started to feel like this is me. This is who I am. This not this foreign person that I didn't understand. The vertigo went away. That helped a great deal. And
wow.
I use some things from our cellular response classes to help with that. But and I think that's the truth. Ayurveda is a puzzle piece. It's part of, it can be in your path. And I think that's what we've got to see, is that each one of us have a different path to take. Our
Yeah.
bodies are not alike, and what works for me may not work for you. But what worked for me was this nutritional pathway, adding in the minerals, adding in the Ayurveda, using herbs and spices along with the minerals, made the picture for me, bringing me back to my health. And so
Mm,
that's, I think that each one of us are responsible to find our pathway. We can't just let people tell us what our pathway is. We have to look at it, research it, look at and see what works for us.
yeah. Yeah. Understanding from within the framework of our body, like you said, we are all so individual with different life experiences, with different, like, genetic precursors to, different diseases and illnesses, and, different parts of the country, different countries, right? So all these
Yeah.
different things. So I have always been the type of teacher that, I don't want to be a crutch for someone, right? I want to be a guiding light for them to help activate the catalyst within them to where they become their own guru, they become their own teacher. And certainly, you have to have teachers along the way to get to that point, right? To inspire you, to guide you, to encourage you and nudge you along. But I love what you said about, just Ayurveda being a puzzle piece of the bigger picture, right? Because you and I
Yeah.
both have a bunch of different things that we do. And, in different circumstances, we will call upon those different tools, right? So I think it also takes a certain amount of skill to know which tool is appropriate for the job.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely. And I think the more tools you get in your tool belt, the more you're able to serve, the
right.
more you're able to give. One thing that I've started it started a long time ago, about 3 years ago. I started a little women's group here where I live, about women who were excited about getting healthy. And we started studying things together. I taught them about muscle testing, and I taught them about herbs and different things, and other women would teach about other things. And then I started a Facebook page called Soul Improvement and Health, and it started with 12 women. We now have 1,600 people
Wow.
participating with us on this Facebook page, where we daily put on a little clue to take the first step into health. About 3 months ago, maybe 2 months ago, I started another Facebook page for healers, for whoever has a modality they use in serving other people. And that immediately has popped up to 150 people.
Yeah.
I think it's so important that we address those different situations and, number one, help support those who are helping others, but also help support those who are just starting their pathway. And I think that's a really important piece.
Yeah, it's you've created an online community, and what I talk about in my trainings is that, you need to have some sort of spiritual community, and whether it's connecting through yoga or through healing, like, because the intimate experience of holistic healing is an inward journey, and understanding yourself on a more intimate level. You have to pay attention. When you take a particular herb, how do you feel? Does it make your palms sweaty? Does it make you like go to the bathroom? Does it or do you feel like calm? Like, so, and then muscle testing, that is a very, like, kinesiology, that is a very intimate art of really slowing down, connecting to yourself so that you get that cellular response, right? So I think I always admire people, because I'm one of these people. But beyond that, I admire other leaders that, put the time and the effort into cultivating and holding a container for this community that everyone is healing in, everyone's sharing, everyone has a voice. And that is another reason why I just love you, Claire, is you are in that mindset. You are in that, and the healers art, like the name of one of your Facebook groups. Like, I love that title, because it is an art, and what is art? It's like a unique expression of healing, and there's no shame, and I've just like, not to make this about me, but like I was in a healers group before I met like Tim Goyech and kind of met you and everyone. But there was a gal, and she's actually on Tim's do not treat list. Her name is Shui Chen. And I was in her group, and it was like the Holistic Healing Academy. We actually did retreats together. And she became, if she was egoic, she became super egoic and started recommending people do all this crazy stuff, like drinking like 5 glasses of apple cider vinegar to get out like, it's just like ridiculous, like kind of like abusive stuff. So, anyways, pushing that aside, that's an extreme example, but the way that you are very sincerely interested in another person's healing, but yet you respect and trust their process. You're not a rescuer, is what I want to say, which is a huge compliment, because not a lot of healers, but I've come across some healers that kind of take on that role. They think I have to heal you. It is my job to heal you, but it's a partnership.
That's interesting that you would say that, because that makes me think of the word evolution. I think early on, I did some rescuing, but you evolve over a period of time when you see that's not what you want to be doing. It's not an ego trip.
Yes.
Serving other people is not an ego trip. It's allowing them to stand on your shoulders and to help them any way you can. And sometimes you have to step back and not help. It depends on the situation. They have to come to a point of saying, oh, well, yeah, I need to change in my life. But the only person who can really change your life is you. You can make all the suggestions. So I really see myself more as a teacher and a guide, rather than I'm not here to repair you. I'm here to help you repair yourself. The body can heal itself. It is a magnificent instrument of so intelligent abilities, and we have to be able to tap into those.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. And one thing that I've noticed is, when people come to me, for example, if they reach out to me about like cell salts, like, okay, do facial analysis, we look for 27 different indicators on the face and blah, blah, blah. And then I'll start to say, and I'm going to ask you further questions about what's going on in your life and any traumatic experiences you've had. And like, how is your emotional regulation? Like, what does that look like? So, could you talk a little bit, because I know you also have some credentials here as well, as far as, is it a CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, or?
Yeah, behavioral therapy.
Yeah. Just like, how does that play a role in someone's healing? Because like I've experienced, and maybe you've experienced, like, when people are new to this path, especially, they're like, well, what formula can you give me? What pill can you recommend? What supplement can I take? Because they don't want to like deal with what's up here.
And people expect immediate gratification.
Yeah.
We're geared to take a pill, or we watch television and we see doctor shows, and people are immediately healed in that magic half hour that we get to watch that show, or hour that we get to watch that show. And
Great entertainment.
Yeah, we expect that in real life, and that's not true. So what I see when people come in is, usually we work in layers, and the first layer is usually what's causing them the pain the most, and sometimes that layer is emotional. And I go through and we talk about that, and we're going to have on our podcast, we're going to have the expert in releasing emotional pain come and visit with us.
Yes.
I'm so excited. Dr. Bradley Nelson is going to be joining us, and he's going to talk about that. But I help people release that emotion, and because we'll go through our lives and we'll have trauma, or we'll have hard things happen. Life is hard.
Right.
Scott Peck wrote a book called The Road Less Traveled. And he says, once you accept that life is problems, you're going to have a good life. Because we often, life is so hard. What did it? No, life is problems. That's what life is. It's enjoying everything around that and learning to get through it. But as we do that, we stuff emotions down into our body. We get angry, but we have to go take care of the kids. So we push that down, and we go and just lay that emotion to the side. But if we don't get rid of the emotion, deal with it correctly, it resonates within us. It has an electromagnetic signature that stores in our body. Now, women often store that emotion in their hips. And so that's the first place generally that I find it. And so they have lower back pain, or they have hip pain, or things in that area. That's where it starts. And so what you have to do is help them release that anger, release the abandonment, or the distrust, or the feeling frustrated, or the depression, or whatever. You have to deal with that. Then we can go to the next layer and talk about physical. It just depends on the person, what is on the top layer, as we begin to peel it away and help it. And there are some wonderful therapies out there. A new therapy that's out there that I've been really, really impressed with is accelerated response therapy, which is such a fabulous guided imagery type of therapy that helps people really come to a final resolution of pain that keeps cropping up and over again. So those are wonderful things that can be added into the healing modalities.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you mentioned layers. In yoga, we have something called the koshas, which, when I was talking with Bridge, because I did that Khichdi cleanse, the Ayurveda cleanse, and she was throwing out terms, and she's like, "Wait, you probably know what I'm talking about because you've been studying yoga for so long." I'm like, "I do. I know what koshas are, and I know the gunas and like the constitutes because like we learned that in basic yoga school, but there's koshas and there's different layers like the food body, the breath or energy body. There is the intellect body, and there's these different layers that you travel through to get to our true nature, which is ananda or bliss. And what you said about people wanting immediate gratification, it's like we think that when we heal that thing that, okay, then finally I'll be happy. It's like when I have the thing, when I'm perfect, when all of the problems are solved, then I'll be happy. But what you said about life being a series of challenges and problems for us to immerse ourselves in, fall in love with the process, and solve from not just from the intellect up here, but from within the framework of our body. That's such a beautiful concept of falling in love with the journey. Another yoga quote is, yoga is the journey of the self, through the self, to the self. It all kind of like works together, these universal truths of self-discovery. And you as an educator, you watch that process and hold space for and guide and nudge that process of self-discovery.
That's how it goes. That's just exactly how
Yeah,
it
but not
goes.
everybody thinks that way, Claire. So
Yeah.
it's wonderful. So wonderful.
Yeah. I love to see, don't you love to see when people get an enlightenment, if you will, of learning that, oh, I am in charge of me. I am capable. And everything starts to shift. And I think the very first thing that I work with is getting their self-talk to shift. Because I find, and you can look on the internet and find all over the place about what self-talk does and so forth and so on. But when I get a person to change their self-talk, I call it changing their label from I am dumb, I am stupid, I am this, I am that, to I am. Let me just may I share a quick story?
Of course, please.
So I went through a really very devastating relationship. We were about to get married and engaged, and things did not work out, and it just devastated me because his final words were to me, "I can do better than you." And that just deep sicks me because I deeply, deeply loved him. And I started in with all sorts of negative self-talk that of, oh, I'm this, I'm that, maybe if I were better, maybe if I, and really demeaning myself to the point I'm just ugly. I'm just ugly. That's the reason. And ugly seemed to be my word that I started to, this is ugly and that's ugly. And the depression came. And of course, when you start to think, thought begets action. And if you start to think that way, then your action starts to reflect what your thinking is.
Yep.
And I started to act that way and didn't want to get up in the morning and didn't want to do this and didn't want to do that. And all of a sudden, a university that I went to called me up and said, "Will you come teach for us?" Because I was at that time a behavior therapist. And I said, "Oh, what do you want me to teach?" And they said, "Well, we would like you to teach overcoming self-defeating behaviors."
Wow.
Yeah, right. And here I am in my pajamas at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon with a plate of nachos on my lap. And and I'm talking to a university that I really revere I've always wanted to work for. Sure, I'll be glad to. After I hung up, I thought, oh my golly, I've got to get myself in line. And the thing I did is what I teach is I tell them, okay, I'm changing my label. What am I going to change it to? So I had to find a word. And the word I looked for, oh, okay, I am pretty. Well, that just didn't fit, because pretty is as pretty does. That's what my mother always used to say. And that just sounded awful. So I am beautiful. That didn't fit either. Mountains and lakes are beautiful. That didn't work out. So my next word was, gorgeous. I am gorgeous. Oh, that just fit right down to my toenails. I couldn't hardly stand it. It was so exciting. Every time I said it, I am gorgeous. Ooh, that just felt so good. And then I teach my classes that, okay, instead of I am just saying it, I want you to find something that will remind you to say it. I had one man put a penny in his shoe, and every time he stepped on the penny, he said his label. I had a woman take adhesive hearts, gave them to her kids, had them put them all through the house, and every time she was cleaning her house, she was a stay-at-home mom, she would say, I love myself. I am I am great. I am whatever. So I picked little red cars because I was traveling for my job at that point in time. I had no clue how many little red cars were out on the road, far more than I had anticipated. And every time I saw a red car, I became like Pavlov and the dogs. Oh, I am gorgeous, with a lot of power and insight and joy. And so one day I was driving down in my city here, and I pulled up to a stoplight. My windows were down, and a little red car went across the intersection. I had 2 3/4-ton trucks, one on each side of me, of construction workers. And this is back in the day when they could sit in the back of the truck and, do that kind of thing. And they were all out there just talking and visiting with each other. And this little red car went across, and I shouted at the top of my voice because I was really into this. I went way past 25 days. I was like into day 60 of saying this mantra, and I went, I'm gorgeous. And these men looked down into my window from each side going, who is this? And of course the trucks took off and thought I was a crazy woman. But I just had to laugh because the value of it was I had changed. I was no longer in the hole. I was no longer in the depression, but I had changed because I changed my self-talk. So that's usually where I start with people. We talk about how do you communicate with you? And that becomes such a powerful impetus in talking about all the other things that are out there that can affect us. If we have positive self-talk, then that's the core of really tapping in to who we really are.
Yeah, creating those new neural pathways. And I love the like the penny in the shoe, the red car. Some of the examples that or cues that I give is tell people to set an alarm on their phone. So like, once an hour goes off, and either, saying or feeling something. And what you said about, it starts with the thought, then you have the emotion, then you have the action, and then that determines your results in your life. And so working from the thought line, because you do get to choose your thoughts, right? And like saying an affirmation and feeling it in your body. So you have, again, that electromagnetic energy, and that's where the shift takes place. That's just brilliant. I love your examples, and I might put a penny in my shoe now.
Good for you. It really is about the mindfulness of it.
Yeah.
And can I tell you, I've worked with drug addicts, I've worked with sexual predators, I've worked with a number of different people behaviorally that have really had hardcore type of things. And you can change an individual at the thought level. If they're already to the action, I can't help them change. But I can help them change at the thought level. And once we work on thoughts and really get with the thought, that becomes such a powerful piece of the a mighty shift. It's the core. It's the core of everything.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. And like you said, it's a mindfulness practice because we have, 60 to 80,000 thoughts per day, so many. Um, and like I like to say, like, not all of them are important. And, probably a lot of them, are not saying great things. So if you can direct your mind, if you can choose, which you can, it just, a lot of people don't want to because it's, yeah, it's like turning the mirror back around and looking at yourself. And it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of bandwidth to constantly direct your mind, especially when it's used to, if you're used to beating yourself up, if you're used to that negative talk, it's sort of like that pathway is already built and it's like a super highway. And so creating these new neural pathways of, I'm gorgeous, I'm beautiful, I'm smart, I'm talented, whatever it is, takes some effort. And so having those little tricks, like every time you see the red car, the penny in the shoe, having those little heart stickers around, all of those are fun. And that's what makes you a great educator, right? You take the final goal and you have an application in practice so that people can have a little, like little stepping stones to get to their final destination. It's not just like, here you go, figure it out. I love the way that you break things down for your students, for your clients, and now for our listeners. I want to ask, so, I know that you have some courses online that you offer, and you're such a wonderful teacher. And I have a lot of people actually that reach out to me about different courses, cell salts and things. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the courses that you're offering?
Well, one of the courses is about cell salts, and I take we know, and Tim, may I just shout out to Tim Goyach for being a master at researcher and teacher for being able to teach us, and as the class that we went through, I learned so much from him. And it is a takeoff of his information and the research of Margaret Roberts, who also was a world-renowned researcher in tissue salts. And so I combined the two philosophies and ideas and research together in one class. And I teach about the basic 12 cell salts and how we can use them on a daily basis, and how we can use them to help with different maladies that come our way, and work through that. We talk a lot about how to use the cell salts, individual cell salts. Him goes more into formulas as using it. Margaret does more of the individual cell salts in her research. And so that's why I combine the two together and teach both things. The other class that I have currently right now online is overcoming self-defeating behaviors. And we go through, and what I ask my students to do is to pick a behavior you want to change in your life. Maybe you have a fear of something. Maybe you have something that you do that you just overeating. Maybe it could be that you're addicted to something. Whatever the behavior you have that you want to change, I teach you simple steps, and it's 8 lessons, 8 simple steps of how to eradicate that and change it, turn it around in your life. So those are the 2 that I have currently online. I am starting an Ayurveda class.
Oh, there she
building
is,
it
of
right
course.
now, of basic Ayurveda principles that you can use. So that's where I'm at right now.
Oh, that's awesome. So how can people reach out and find you?
Well, Facebook is an easy way. Soul improvement and health page would be the one way to access me. You can also reach me on the Healer's Art Facebook page. Just ask to join. We will let you come in. But either one, and you can contact me directly through that.
Wonderful. Yeah. And everyone, just to repeat, this is Claire Miller, and it's been wonderful having you on the show today. And I'm looking forward to co-hosting with you for our series, Heal and Be Healthy, The Journey. Thank you so much, Claire, for joining me today.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. If you want to support the podcast and if it's helping you, please consider writing a review. You can go to iTunes or Google Play, go into the search bar and type in Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, scroll down, and you can leave a review. This helps other people to find me as well as bumps us up in the search ratings. Also, this podcast is sponsor-free, so that means we don't receive anything for doing it. If you feel so inclined and this podcast is helping to support you and you want to return the favor and help to support any production costs of the podcast, feel free to give a donation to a Venmo link, Thrive Yoga Fit, or PayPal, Aaron@aaroncoach.com. If you don't have the means, don't worry about it. We're not going anywhere. You're all good. But if you would like to give back, you can give back in those ways. Thank you so much. Namaste.